Hey everybody, welcome back. I am Mark, your host, and today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Alex B, coming in from Columbus, Ohio. Alex, why don't you say hello to everybody?
Hey everybody, welcome back. Glad to be here.
So, Alex, if you didn't tune into the last episode here, Alex is a freelance videographer and full-time corporate videographer out in Columbus, Ohio, and a generally upstanding guy.
Well, thank you.
All right, so for today's topic, we're going to be talking mistakes in gear purchases that we've made. So we're really going to be thinking about what we regret buying the most. And because I sort of threw Alex under the bus last time, I'm going to go first this time around. So the one single purchase that I regret the most, I don't even have it here anywhere. I even lost the dang thing because I didn't use it at all, was a light wrench. Now, if you've never heard of a light wrench, I know I haven't. There's a good reason for that. They are pretty useless as far as I can tell. It might be that it's more for like theater purposes. When we were first starting off with our on-set experiences in like our freshman year of college together, I wanted to make sure I was prepared. I was working as a grip on a set, so I was like, I'm going to look up what tools I need. And lo and behold, B&H suggested I buy a light wrench. So a light wrench is a long wrench that has a couple different like sockets in it, basically, for, I think, repairing light stands and different yokes and stuff like that. But realistically, there's other tools that you can use for that, like dedicated tools. So it's really not worth picking up. I have bought a lot of stupid stuff over the years. I'm usually pretty good about not being an impulse buyer, but sometimes B&H's deal zone catches me off guard. And the thing is, with a lot of those things that I've bought that were maybe regrettable at the time, I find a use for it. Not the stupid light wrench. This is the most useless thing I have ever bought. So that's my story. That's what I have. Alex, let's hear it from you.
So I've got a few things. Again, I don't impulse buy a ton of stuff. I usually think way too long about stuff. So like luckily I have not bought anything like a terrible camera that was like $2,000 or anything. But at the beginning of 2020, I was rocking a GH2 at the time. And
Still a solid camera.
I mean, for how old it is, that's a good camera. And so I was wanting to switch over to EF mount, so I bought a Viltrox speed booster. And I didn't realize at the time that it had to be specifically Canon L series lenses. Otherwise, you had to take Scotch tape and tape the contacts on the back, and then that was the only way it'd work. So like,
So did you do that? Did it work?
I did. It worked actually. Sometimes, not always. But so I did that, and it finally worked. But I got sticky stuff all on my contacts on my GH2, so I had to clean that out. The other thing that, and not a terrible purchase, I still use it. I bought a Cheese Grater Mac Pro.
That's like that new, really expensive one, right?
So it's actually, I believe that I bought the one that came out in 2012.
So a little dated.
I bought it in 2018, but it was still dated, and I bought it pretty cheap, but it was supposed to just kind of like get me by, but then like the hardware in it wasn't super up to date, so like 4K video was like a no-go. And I basically, like, I've had to like upgrade this, and like I probably have just as much, if not more, in internal parts as I did to buy the thing. So like, it works, it's fine, it does its job now, but now I'm getting to the point where it's like too old after I've upgraded it all the way. So like, it doesn't run like Catalina natively, so I have to like do some workarounds and like stuff like that. So it's like I got it to the point internally where it was good, and then it's like doesn't work anymore elsewhere. So
Does it like function at all? Do you still have any use for it, or does it just sort of like sit in the corner collecting dust?
oh yeah, no. I edit my freelance projects on it actually. It functions fine. I have an 8 gig graphics card in it that's metal enabled. I have 32 gigs of RAM. Like it's a pretty good functioning computer now, but it's like right when I got it to the point of being a good functioning computer, it's like started to hit its shelf life of like not running updates and like I can't run boot camp, so I can't even load Windows on it, which is super weird. But like so it's like hitting the point of like being too old and like hitting that planned obsolescence that Apple likes to induce on everything. Right when I got it to the point of of working well.
Well, go figure.
Yeah.
So, to kind of put a nice bow on it, what would you say it was the mistake with the cheese grater here?
Not upgrading it fast enough. It
So
was
it's just sort of like
I
stretching it out.
I didn't realize my capacity to upgrade it or want to upgrade it was going to be so slow, and then it was going to be like outdated by the time I actually upgraded it.
But it got there eventually.
So knowing what you're investing in would be the lesson.
That's a good way of putting it. So, I wasn't really planning on hitting this topic, but since you sort of gave me a nice segue into it, I'm going to catch you off guard here.
Okay.
You recently switched over to shooting on a Canon C100, and I recently moved from my Blackmagic ecosystem, the original Pocket Cinema camera and the original 2.5K Micro Four Thirds. I switched over to the Zcam E2 M4. I just want to touch a little bit on what made you think that it was like the right time to move on to a different system.
So I was shooting on a lot of EF in general. Because I was shooting on EF, I was adapting lenses, which was great. But like I said, with the Viltrox thing, there's some compatibility gaps when you do that, and you run into a lot more issues, like the autofocus isn't running as fast. There's a lot of perks to it, like you can get in lower light, but it was really I was ready to switch to a cinema camera, and I was already migrating away from Micro Four Thirds in general. So naturally, it was just, I was ready to switch to Canon.
So it's really just a matter of kind of growing with the system or having the system grow with you as you expanded your own abilities and expanded kind of your business, right?
I would say that's a really good summary of it. Is it just when I bought my GH2 and when I originally was building up gear, it was Micro Four Thirds and like small form factor was what I wanted. And then as I kind of grew and grew my business, like it kind of grew away from that, and it grew to more cinema aspects and more I don't want to say professional setups, but more traditionally professional setups.
I gotcha. And on my end, we've talked about this a little bit, but I've been shooting on that same Blackmagic setup for about 7 years now. 2 camera for when I need it. It was nice to have kind of matching color science between the two. But the color science is really where I had my hang up, and the battery life. There was just so much that I needed to bring out to a shoot in order to make it work that it became more of a frustration than anything else. The color science, it can give a good filmic image, but I feel like to get just a normal, natural Rec 709 image out of those cameras, you have to work it so hard in post just to get anything that looks normal. It has its baked-in video mode, which is not great. I want to say it's okay, but it's not even that. It's not great. Generally, nobody would ever use it. But once I switched over to this Zcam, it was really kind of a question of identifying what my needs were. I wanted something where I could get a good Rec 709 image out of the box, and I really enjoy having the options to shoot ProRes if I want a little bit more flexibility, to be able to shoot that Z-Log if I want that flexibility, but really hitting home that Rec 709 just bake straight into a long form recording option like H.264 or H.265. It really was a question of fitting my own needs here. So that's where I'm coming from. I think that's about all we got for this one. Alex, anything you'd like to add on your end?
I had something and then I lost it. So
Was it maybe, I know we talked about this before, was it maybe just like you didn't want to deal with building out yourself and dealing with these big camera rigs with so many parts that can fail? Is that?
yeah, so I was actually kind of ironically, I was going to upgrade thinking about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. And then I was talking with you about it, and you kind of talked me out of it because of all your troubles with building things out and like having a bunch of different tools, because it didn't all have it in one package. So like that's how I kind of ended up with the C100 Mark II was you kind of like sold it to me as an all-in-one camera that basically does the same thing. So
And now it's been, I don't know how long, it's been at least a matter of months that you've been using the C100 now. How do you find it these days? Do you think it was the right choice?
I think it was the right choice. It's been about, I want to say, I got it in August of last year. So it's been about 7 months, almost closer to a year. I've used it on a handful of stuff. I think it was the right choice, although it was like a month after I bought it, they announced the C70. And granted, I mean, it was way out of the price range that I was looking at. Yeah. But it was like, man, did I just like make a mistake? But no, for the deal that I got on it and the image that it produces and what I use it for, I don't need 4K. I think it's a perfect camera for someone who's ready to break into the cinema camera market. But yeah.
Yeah, it really is kind of like perfect for that 1080p HD market, and it still gives a fantastic image from a oversampled 4K sensor, actually. It's the same sensor as some of those higher end cinema lines from that same generation. So really, you get the manageable file sizes, you still get that kind of increased sharpness, just downscaling in camera, and I think it's a fantastic all-around bread and butter type of camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that's going to wrap it up here. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's been great seeing you. Alex, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
And we'll catch you all next time. Thanks for dropping by. See ya.